Happy New Year! Right? It is a new year, I will tell you, sisters and brothers, right? It sounds strange, but we start today. We start today a new liturgical year. Our liturgical year runs from the first Sunday of Advent, which is today, and runs all the way through to the Saturday of the 34th week of Ordinary Time. The Sunday of the 34th week of Ordinary Time, we celebrate as I'm sure you did last week with Father Kirchhofer, right? The very great solemnity of our Lord Jesus Christ, the King of the universe. Excuse me. But we start this new liturgical year. Of course, throughout the past year, we read from the Gospel of Matthew, mostly. This coming year, this liturgical year 2024, we'll be reading mostly from the Gospel of Mark, except for a couple of weeks of the summer. Mark is a very short Gospel. And of course, throughout most of the month, we heard a lot of readings, huh? Through November, we heard a lot of readings about the end times, about the end of all things. For most of us, for the end of our earthly lives and how we need to prepare. But today, as we begin the season of Advent, what does our Lord tell us? But much the same thing. He tells us, be watchful. Be alert. You don't know when the time will come. Of course, Advent, we know mostly as Advent as being the time to prepare for Christmas. And indeed, when we come to celebrate Christmas, we'll be celebrating our Lord Jesus Christ coming into our lives in a new way as we celebrate His coming into the world in human flesh. And we know what that day is, huh? December 25th. Falls on a Monday this year. We've got a short Advent, huh? Our Lord tells us to be awake, to be watchful. Sure. Advent is a time for us to prepare for Christmas. Advent is a time for us to prepare for the coming of our Lord and His birth. But in a way, it also becomes a way for us to prepare for His coming at the end of time, for us meeting Him at the end of our earthly lives. Our Advent serves both these purposes, huh? Our Lord's Advent serves both these purposes. You know, my sisters and brothers, it's not just only the first Sunday of Advent. It's the first Sunday of December. And as you may recall, Bishop Johnston has asked us preachers, for this last year of the National Eucharistic Revival to preach on the Eucharist. And I think it's an important way for us to think about not only how we prepare our hearts, prepare our minds, prepare our souls to meet Christ at Christmas. Not only how we prepare our hearts, prepare our minds, prepare our souls to meet Christ at the end of our earthly lives, to meet Him at the end of all things. To remember that we meet Him whenever we approach the Holy Eucharist, when we come to this altar, when we present ourselves for Holy Communion, when we sit before Him or kneel before Him in adoration. We are meeting Christ. Serious business. Oh, my sisters and brothers, this Advent is an opportunity for us to consider how not only we prepare to meet Christ at Christmas, but how we are called to meet Christ at every Eucharist, and indeed whenever we approach the sacraments. As we resolve to run forth to meet Christ. We seek to recognize how we wander from his ways, how we harden our hearts, how we don't fear him, and the way he asks us to fear him in wonderment, in awe. Through the sacraments, particularly through the sacrament of reconciliation, sisters and brothers, we pray that he might meet us doing what is right, mindful of his ways, praying that he will keep us firm to the end, irreproachable on the day of our Lord Jesus Christ, praying that we are not lacking in any spiritual gift. Oh, sisters and brothers, as we approach our Lord in the Eucharist, as we approach the Lord in this season of Advent, moving to meeting him in Christmas, recognizing that we are called to meet him at the end of all things, we listen to him command us the way he tells all of us to watch. So then we will no longer withdraw from him, so that he will give us new life, and that we may confidently and boldly call upon his name. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever.